Well, hello, and thank you for joining me for a presentation on Dynamics 365 Business Central and the Spring 2019 release. I'm excited to present to you the fabulous updates that Microsoft has provided to the product. We're going to cover application enhancements, productivity enhancements, and overall performance improvements. When we look at application enhancements, one big change that they made throughout the system is longer name and description fields. They updated names like the customer name or the item description fields from 50 characters to 100, and they updated the unit of measure description from 10 characters to 50 characters long. They've updated the system to support physical inventory as a document where the data is captured, rather than through a journal. This is based on a Germany-based localization that is now available worldwide and in the North American release. Microsoft has added an item multi-select feature on purchase orders and sales orders to improve productivity. Let's take a look. So on the Role Center in the web client, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to create a new sales order. And we'll go ahead and I'll choose a customer. And when I get down to the line items, rather than choosing just lines, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to choose Manage Select Items. And this feature, add 2 or more items from your inventory list. So it opens the full list. And now I can say, okay, the customer wants, and I'll hold down my control key and I'll click, 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 and build an order. I can also use filters on this screen. And when I'm ready, I can just click OK. And it adds all those line items to my sales order, making it very fast for data entry. Really cool feature. Sales quotes now support an expiration date. Item creation prompt option. So during sales transactions or during purchase transactions, when you're creating an item that doesn't exist, there's a setup option in the inventory setup area that says, do you want to be prompted to create an item for a new record on the fly? And you can turn that on or shut it off if it's something that, trips you up. Dimensions in the existing or previous versions did not get copied from a customer record to a job. That was a pretty common modification that we had to do for those using jobs. That's now supported in the current release. Merge duplicate customers, vendors, and contacts. So if you have 3 different records that are vendors that are for your Verizon account, you can merge them together. Payment information is now displayed on the customer and vendor fact boxes. So when we take a look, and I just take a look at customers and we bring up our customer list, and I take a look and scroll down the fact boxes, there is now information relating to payments and the last payment date, which was never available before in a fact box. The vendor's invoice number is preserved and presented on the posted purchase invoice and credit memo lists, so we can see that information. Time information is stored directly on registers. So if you've ever been searching, when did this entry get posted in the system? Now we can see a lot more detail, and there's a couple features I'm going to demonstrate at once here because there's some new enhancements. But if we go ahead and search and I say, find me the general ledger entries form, and we'll go ahead and bring up that record. I can see, certain information about what was the date, the posting date, but that doesn't tell me when that entry was posted. The only way we would have previously to tell that information was to look at this entry number, which demonstrated a sequence of when things were posted, but I want to know, when was it actually posted? Well, there's a feature that many of us used to like called Zoom, and the Zoom feature is now available, but it's called Inspect. And based on my permissions, if I click on the gear and choose Inspect, it opens up the page inspection box, which shows me all of the table fields. So I can go ahead and I can scroll down, or I can just click the search box and type in date. And it immediately finds me all fields related to date. And you'll see now I have my posting date, I have the document date, but I also have field 8005, which is a date time stamp for when this record was actually created. So to see that kind of information available, Microsoft really added something nice there. The external document number is now visible and referenced on posted sales documents. That information does not get lost. Item descriptions and the vendor and customer's names get moved to entries. So we're not just looking at a source code, which is the vendor code or the customer code. The names are brought to the transactions. When we're processing payment application, this is on the payable side, or on the customer side, we can view the document attachments. So if there were a document that was attached or stored when I posted a purchase invoice, someone gave me the actual invoice from their purchase and it was scanned and attached to the posted invoice, that will be visible when applying payments to that invoice. Ship to addresses can be defaulted. We can choose one as the default. So rather in the current versions of the product, or prior versions, I should say, the customer address information, which was typically the bill to, defaulted into the ship to, and a user would have to go to the ship to box and select the specific ship to. You can now choose the default ship to address when creating ship tos on your customer. We can actually change descriptions on posted entries. So that right away, that makes certain people squeamish, like, I don't want to be able to manipulate the posted entries, but you can't manipulate the entries. But what you can do is change the descriptions. So within an entry, and let's close out a page inspection, when I'm looking at entries, if I choose to edit the list, I can actually change the posted descriptions as I go through and or change this back. Entries. And you have to choose the edit button in order to make those changes. And that was added because how many times does a user decide that they posted something but the posting description was wrong? And they'd have to go and create reversing entries, and it just creates a mess, all kinds of extra entries. So I really like what Microsoft was thinking. They've added a function, and we've done this many times for clients as a customization, to create a transfer order and then get the receipt lines to publish that transfer order, which is what you would do in the event that you've purchased a container of goods. So you've received in a whole bunch of purchase orders, and now you want to create, and they're on the order, and now you want to create a transfer order to record the movement from the foreign warehouse or the on-the-water warehouse into your actual warehouse. There's now a function that will fill the transfer order lines with lines from purchase receipts. There's a function to copy an item. So when you're creating a new item, rather than just using a template, which is good, what if an item is almost a precise duplicate of another item with a slightly different parameter or attribute? There is now a feature to copy items. In previous versions of the software, when an item is recorded as blocked, you can't use it at all. And what if you wanted to return them? So you've purchased them, you've decided they don't work with your company, you block it so you can't sell them anymore. But what if you wanted to process a return allow a customer to return the goods, or you wanted to process a return to vendor. The block function will allow you to do something like a return. Productivity enhancements, focus mode on document pages, and the shortcut key, Control-Shift-F12. What is focus mode? Well, let's take a look. If we go ahead and we'll go into sales order, and I'll just bring up this order, 1001. So with all these line items on it, focus mode says get rid of my general tab and explode for me on the screen an expanded view that shows all of the line item detail and the totals, with the header bar up here, or this ribbon, all focused on the lines. And I can go into focus mode or out of focus mode. So now my general tab and my other tabs are back. But if I just go ahead and say, bring me right back to focused mode, it's focused on the lines, making it very easy to work with the line items and multiple lines all at once. There is a work date indicator that warns you what is your work date. Use today, T for today, to enter your current work date so that you don't wind up working in the wrong period. It's just an on-screen indicator, and you have, through user personalization, the ability to turn on and off those reminders. It's sort of like working in beginner mode or working in advanced mode. Quick entry is a way that you can configure the system for fast entry of, for example, a sales order. If we take a look at an order, and I'll come out of focus mode, I can control, when I press the tab key, you'll notice it goes through every single field. So it goes to contact, posting date, order date. Now it's going to jump over to due date, then requested delivery date. But if I go up and I use the enter key, it goes to the contact, and then immediately it jumps to external document number. Well, why is that? Well, through the ability to do personalization, we can go through and change the rules associated with how our quick entry takes place. We can go through and personalize. Let's see, personalize the quick entry design. So right here, this little indicator, I can say exclude from quick entry, or go through and configure under quick entry, and include or exclude. So that's a quick entry field. I'll say exclude this. So now when I leave the customer, it's going to go directly to the next quick entry. I'll click here. That's included in quick entry, the posting date. If I choose here, include. And so basically you have the ability to control where those tab stops are. And it doesn't just work on fields, it also works on columns. So you can say, I want to go from item number to quantity, and then to price, and then item number, no other fields. So as a user enters, they put the part number in, they hit enter, it goes to the quantity. They type in the quantity, they hit enter. Or you could just say item number and quantity, and it won't go to price, it'll go to the next line, making it very fast. There are a series of shortcut keys. If we just take a look, they've worked hard to create keyboard shortcuts that you can utilize. And there's a number of shortcut keys that exist for doing a variety of tasks, to move to the next record. This is one of my faves from the old days, F8, copy from the cell above. They've preserved that. Toggle the fact boxes on and off, Alt F2. Inspect the page and the data. That's that zoom. Control Alt F1. Control F1 brings you into the Business Central Help. Sort by the current column. That was an old filter function. So you can see that they've done a lot of things to create great shortcut keys. The autosave indicator. So for anyone that was super perceptive, observing my screens when I work through records, for example, let's just bring up an order. You'll notice up here this little check mark, saved. As I move through fields, and if I go ahead and I'll go ahead and change the quantity on this. Yeah, it's already saved. It's just so fast. But when you're processing transactions and entering new records, if I enter an item here, okay, the order actually, I have to reopen it. Revert the change. The system, I would have to go through and let's say this order's probably, yeah, it wouldn't let me make a change to this order at all. But from a perspective of the functions relating to the transaction, when you open a document, and I'll just go ahead to an order that's not released and nothing's transacted yet, and I'll choose a customer. You'll notice it said saving, and then it went to saved. So if I go here, I type an item, you'll see how it's telling me that it's processing. So it's not as where you would never know when a record was actually written. It's giving you a save indicator as it processes transactions. The contextual search function has been improved so that when you search for something, not only will it search within the Business Central database, but it will also search on AppSource to find, an add-on for a feature. Let's say you're looking for commissions. It'll show you the fields related to commissions, but it'll also show you the commission ISVs. Page inspection, we talked about when I showed the GL entry posting date and time. Flow fields pause when scrolling. So when you have a database that's brand new and it doesn't have much information in it, the system seems really, really fast. For example, as I go through and I scroll through records, it seems pretty quick. But one of the things you'll notice is if I go record by record and I'm going down, it's updating on the right-hand side here, my fact boxes in real time. What they've done is if I start going really fast, you'll notice it's not updating. And it waits until I stop, and then it updates so that it doesn't hold me back from scrolling up and down through lots of records. Another thing that it does, if I grab this taskbar and scroll it, all right, there's not enough records in this table to show the issue. But let's go back to the general ledger entries. And in the GL entries, if I start scrolling really fast, notice what it does. It doesn't even update the screen until I stop. So they've focused on the fact that not only when you scroll through records, it won't update the flow fields, but it doesn't even update the data fields when you scroll super fast through lots of records to improve performance. They have modified the system so that SQL queries can be optimized based on hints that they utilize to find the precise records that are being searched for. This represents somewhere between a 30 and 60% improvement in queries within the database. They've improved OData, so web services that are pulling data out of the system, they've done improvements with OData. They've modified the way the Rapid Start tool works for importing data from or to the database to perform much better. They've modified the thread dispatcher for data calls, favoring information that is presented on the user interface versus data that's just needed for background processes. So there's over 100 enhancements and features, from developers enhancements to business enhancements to system-based enhancements in the April 2019 release. It's just quite impressive. There is a document that is available where you can see the business application release notes and see not only the things that are currently available, but the potentially planned features that are available. And what's new from productivity, from self-help and support, features for developers, performance enhancements, and each of these features that they've added are available on the release notes page. That's available on docs.microsoft.com. So I hope that you found this information useful. It was my pleasure to present to you what I discovered as the most powerful new features in the spring release of Business Central. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. Have a great day.